They're the victim. The justice system has wronged them. Their ex-wife is crazy.
For most men, a divorce will be one of the most traumatizing things they go through. Whether this 50-something-year-old woman is a red flag or not, I have determined she is. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Chisha Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
50-year-old woman struggling in the dating market is online complaining about all that she's running into are men who are traumatized from divorce. It's not really funny because these men have been traumatized, and she's tired of hearing them pretty much share their experience while they're on dates. All right, check it out.
This is an absolute deal breaker, dating in my 50s. And I don't really care if you keep coming at me in the comments like, you're so old, you should settle on this. I will never settle for a guy who's done this.
50 and won't settle. It's not looking good.
So odd about it. It's like all the men who do this have gathered in a room and come up with the same spin. They're the victim. The justice system has wronged them. Their ex-wife is crazy. So many guys have confessed this to me over our first coffee date, which I guess I'm very grateful for because you're showing me who you really are.
I want to say something about that. I'm going to pause it a few times in this video, but I want to say something about that because it's not a good thing to talk about an ex on a coffee date. But there are a lot of guys out here who are they're just, I've run into a lot of men, for example. I've run into these type of guys. Middle-aged men who've been through a divorce were one of the first to kind of shine light on the darker side of things. I would work with these type of guys when I was working a job as a mover. At one point I was a mover. I got to tell you guys this story because this guy had such an interesting story. He owned a business and a really successful business. And he would talk about this business all the time. And his plan was to get back on his feet so he could get back to building up his business. And I remember asking him, I was like, yo, what happened to the business? Then he started talking about the divorce. I mean, it was a crazy story. He goes into his wife working with him really closely and how he eventually found out that she was like banging a bunch of guys at his job because he was working a job before the business. And these were all things that began to unravel that he found out after his divorce. And he just would go on and on and on. And I was like, damn, that sounds like a traumatic experience. In fact, I once heard a therapist say, for most men, a divorce will be one of the most traumatizing things they go through. And a lot of guys aren't out here picking up dating tips from people online who've been through divorce, especially if they're in their 50s. They're coming out of these divorces and they're like, okay, well, I'll go on a date and I'll test it out. And while on the date, they're just being honest. Like, yeah, my ex-wife this, and they're just talking about things. And I believe that they are doing these things regardless of whether it's helping them or not. Now, whether they dodged a bullet or not, we'll find out here as we keep listening to this woman.
If you're a deadbeat dad and not making child support payments, I will want absolutely nothing to do with you. I hear it so often that I finally checked up on one guy who was making this claim that it was all his ex-wife's fault. You know what? After I get back home, I'm going to check out his story. I'm going to hop online to the state court database. I found his case. His ex-wife wasn't crazy. The state was coming after him for not making payments. I'm not wrong on this. If you're a parent, you should be paying for your children. There aren't enough excuses in the world to convince me otherwise. But if you think I'm up in the night, tell me why.
All right. So she can't believe that there are men out here who are trying to lower their child support, trying not to pay it for whatever reason, because she believes if the woman says she needs it, she probably believe all women, she probably does. And whether this 50-something-year-old woman is a red flag or not, I have determined she is just based on this video I saw. Check it out.
I saw a man moments ago on this app talking about how women need to have more feminine energy because without it, we're miserable. Do you know what it's like as a woman to be sick to the point you call in sick to work or you hide under your desk because the men in the office are chasing you around and you? No? Okay, so get out of our lane. Do you know what it's like to be told You need to wear more skirts and dresses to work. Yeah, those pants and those skirts and dresses. No? Then get out of our lane. Do you know what it's like to go on a walk or a run and keep at least one ear open and your head on a swivel because you're afraid you're going to get raped? No? Then get out of our lane. Do you know what it's like to be passed over for a job because you're pregnant? No? And stay out of our lane. You see, I became an adult in 1985, and I quickly learned that as a woman, I would have to fight for everything I wanted, for my safety, for my success, for the right not to be in my workplace. So don't come on these apps and start lecturing women like me about you need to have more feminine energy. That's a lane you know nothing about traveling in.
She really thought she said what she needed to say. Stay out of my lane. This is the type of woman. I mean, I'm getting heavy Karen vibes from this chick. The type of woman who got online in the last video and said, give me your advice. Then when you do give your advice, who knows? We'll see. Let's check out some of these responses from women about the first video she made about men who are deadbeats on dates. Top comment says, oh my gosh, I learned this too late. Now he's a deadbeat dad to the kids we had together. Somebody else here says they always have to say that because they can't take accountability. Every guy I dated said this. Every guy you dated said this. Goes on to say the date was over when I stuck up for the ex-wife. Another comment here says, I divorced a deadbeat dad. Oh, okay. I absolutely will not talk to one. Somebody else here says, never settle for deadbeat dads. My dad was one and still a deadbeat. Somebody else here added, they're proud of themselves for avoiding child support. Such a huge ick. There's another comment that says, it's a form of abuse if a dad won't pay child support. Somebody else here added, you forgot she won't let me see my kids. Here's somebody else who says, any mention of crazy exes, and I'm out because I will be the next crazy ex. Now, since she said, if I'm wrong, let me know, I'll play this video that was titled How Child Support Can Destroy a Man's Life that I released a while back, and you guys can check this out. Do you guys remember this? Let's get into it.
But let me tell you a story here, okay? I'm a repo guy. I don't hide it. A scenario that I've seen time and time again, not necessarily in Ontario where I live, but in Alberta. And a particular file I was working. He was working oil and gas. Those boys made a lot of at one point in time. This guy was making in excess of $140,000 a year. The economy goes for shit. Oil and gas goes through the toilet. Buddy loses his job. Company shuts down. Does what he's got to do. Takes a job at $60,000. Well, that shit ain't good enough for the rig pig that he hooked up with.
Right.
2 kids. She buggers off. Goes to court. I want child support. Your Honor, last year he made $140,000. That is what his child support is based on.
Wow.
He can't afford that. Nobody can. Because he went from $140,000 to $60,000.
And by the way, that's not half. That's less than half. Not half. Less than half. And he's still expected to pay child support based on what he was making prior. So keep listening.
He's doing the best he can. He loves his kid. So, he's got some decisions to make. Make his truck payment, his insurance payment, his house payment, whatever other payments he's got to make.
Right.
First one he stops is his insurance payment. Driving with no insurance. Risk it. The second thing, he loses his place to live. Now the guy's living in his truck. Yep, I am going to get a lot of hate for this, but it is my job and it is what I do.
By the way, I think how he came to find this story is it sounds like he actually may have repoed this guy's truck. I don't know. We're still listening, but I don't know, right? But that's his job. And he's sharing you the dark side of the child support system that a lot of people don't see.
Now he's behind on his truck payments. All his toys are gone. This woman's gone. She's got the kids. And he's got this financial obligation that he can't pay. Child maintenance now seizes his driver's license. Now he can't drive. Can't work. because he can't drive. Can't drive because he's got no insurance and he's got no license. Then he loses his truck. Now, I kept in contact with this guy because he was a really decent guy. A couple of weeks after I lost contact with him, I found out he...
Jesus. All right, so he deleted himself, since that's probably going to be censored. Deleted himself.
Because he couldn't survive. He couldn't survive financially. He couldn't survive mentally. Now, the economy, yep, shit happens. But he went and got a job, making less money.
Right.
He could have gone to court and got his child support reduced. He couldn't afford to go. He's dead. Gone. Now, you want to know how child support can ruin a man's life? Think about that story before you post.
Yeah. When people say that family court laws need to be changed, this is exactly what they're talking about. And the first time I heard a situation like this was actually from one of the attorney videos I've posted. I've done like different series on expert attorneys. If you guys go search it, there's like one video 2 hours long. But yeah, that shocked me. I did not know that this happened that often. How do you get out of that situation? How do you get out of that situation? If in the process of, I mean, you really have no choice. You have to make more money. But if in the process of you making more money, you're constantly being effed on every stage, if you're not able to figure something out fast, not slow, then you sort of be in a situation where your hands are tied behind your back. Now, are there men who figured out a way? Yes. But not all of them will. Some men will be homeless. And a lot of guys, unfortunately, in the comment section, were able to relate to this story. Check out a few of these comments, man. This first guy says, the ex doesn't care other than losing the free money. No, she's off with some new guy. Here's a comment from a guy who can relate to the story personally. He says, child support made me homeless twice. Another woman here says, now the kids get nothing and their dad is gone because the system's too greedy instead of working with him. Here's another comment that says, unfortunately, the story will fall on deaf ears of the system. They don't care. They won't fix it, period. I've talked about the only way they will probably fix these laws. And it's not going to come from videos on YouTube. And can we do something more as men? Yes. But in a gynocentric society, when true change comes is when women are affected. And more women are complaining about things like alimony. And the more that they continue to complain about things like alimony, get on TikTok and cry their eyes out and start to complain about the equality that they so desperately asked for. And they'll say, it doesn't make sense. Things need to be changed. Why am I paying my husband alimony? Why am I paying him child support? It's like the situation with Mary J. Blige, right? Where she was saying, I can't believe men are out here collecting child support from women. How dare they?
Women.
They're supporting this woman who's I'm sorry, it wasn't child support. It was alimony. But they're supporting this woman who was upset that her husband was accepting alimony. Like we can't all benefit from the system. But they don't want it. They don't want it both ways. They don't want equality, man. And as soon as more women are affected by it, then it'll become a situation where it's like, well, we've got to really revisit these laws right now because more men are being effed over than women. They don't care, right? I wish I had a solution other than, first off, prevent yourself from being in a situation like this by taking steps. One of them being, this is going to sound crazy, paying child support while you're married to that chick. If you're somebody who's in a relationship or married, paying child support. Yes, attorneys will advise you to pay child support while things are A-okay and to show proof of it so that she can't go back and claim that you haven't been paying child support in the past or helping out, raise up the kids. And just being deliberate with not ending up in a situation like this. I'm not a guy who sits and says all men in the world need to not have kids. What the F is that? How will society move forward? That type of thinking is backwards. Now, if you don't want to have children, cool. That's also a direction you could go to protect yourself as a man. Great. But this idea that you're going to convince men to not reproduce is completely insane, right? Here's another comment that says, and now the ex and the kids get nothing. Another comment here says, truth finally heard. I'm a survivor of child support enforcement system. Almost all of the things happened to me. The truth heard. Here's another commenter who says, child support should be based on 2 equal homes. Another woman here, final comment says, sad story. Never understood why they'd put a man in jail, then he makes zero. We gotta find a better way. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. And if you're currently going through this, have gone through this, maybe share your experience down below of how you got through it. I feel for men out here who may currently be going through a situation like this. Hold on, man. Don't give up. It will get better. Things will be okay. Hold on. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.